who are some under-the-radar players the 49ers should re-sign this offseason? We know they have like 34 free agents, about $30 million in cap space, some big guys they got to bring back. But who are some guys that maybe people aren't thinking about that are important to bring to re-sign?
There's 3 of them, and they all 3 on my list that all have a common denominator, and their name has a Jordan in it. Jordan Reed, Jordan Willis, and Dion Jordan. Those 3 guys, for what Dion Jordan and Jordan Willis are, depth complementary pass rushers, they're pretty good at what they do. They're 2 guys that were high. Well, Willis wasn't as high as a draft pick, obviously, as Jordan, but they have very high athletic ceilings. And as your 7th and 8th pass rusher, your depth defensive lineman, those are 2 guys that I really like to come back next year for cheap deals. And this team's going to be tied up against the cap. I like Dion Jordan and Jordan Willis coming back next year. And then Jordan Reed clearly is still a very good receiving threat as a tight end in the NFL. Him and Kittle were never on the field really at the same time this year, which is unfortunate. But I like the idea of bringing Jordan Reed back. So those are my 3 guys: Jordan Willis, Jordan Reed, and Dion Jordan.
And you guys are free to repeat names because Nick just named half the team. So go ahead.
I'm not sure how under the radar they are, but there are guys like Kerry Hyder that needs to, they need to bring him back. He's shown that he's plays well, especially when he's playing with Kasarik. Ronald Blair. Ronald Blair's the guy that's been injured all this year, but he's been a really good number 2 pass rusher that really does a good job of spelling Nick Bosa when he's out. So that would be another guy that I'd want to see them bring back, that they should be able to bring back cheap since he's been out this year. And another one would be Ahkello Witherspoon. I know, and on Witherspoon, it's more of a, you're looking at being able to bring him back on a low cost kind of a deal. He's a good backup player. And right now with where they are, they have 3 of their positions locked up because they're going to bring back Mosley, I believe. And that would be your kind of your starting point, I think, on the 4th one.
Real quick, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners have competition for Ahkello. Who do you think that competition is coming from?
Yeah.
Big Salah, if he gets the job. Leo, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No worries. I don't think Ahkello's going to sign with the 49ers based on what he went through in his tenure. It's just my thought. I think there may be a family member that bangs their hand on the table and say, Ahkello, don't sign that.
Are you saying that he's like the more upbeat Dante Pettis? Like the Dante Pettis who didn't go in the tank but has the same grievances?
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Keep going.
So I would say Jordan Willis was a great point. You're going to have Nick Bosa, I would assume, sometime next season. And then, so you're probably not going to have D Ford. You need that speed rusher off, and Jordan Willis fits that role. As far as like a reserve, he's obviously not going to be a starter. And then I feel like a guy that no one's really talking about as far as coming back or not having as much hype would be Kaijuan Williams. We saw what his return looked like last week against the Cowboys. He is a fantastic blitzer off the edge. He's probably the best slot corner in the NFL. Jamar Taylor looks nice. He's a good friend of mine, but he's not Kaijuan Williams. And he's also, who knows if he plays next season, being 30 years old, coming off an ACL.
That's terrible. Yeah, Maverick.
I'd say 2 guys, both restricted free agents, one being an exclusive and one being a regular. Restricted is Jeff Wilson Jr. and Daniel Brunskill. I think both are important guys just for the future of this team to bring back because I think they're cheap and there are salary cap concerns in future years. So getting guys that can perform at a certain level and have them under contract for minimal money would be good. I think Wilson's really important for this offense, especially with health concerns around the other running backs. We don't know who the top 3 running backs are going to be on the team next year, but I think Jeff Wilson Jr. should definitely be one of the top 2. And then, of course,
keep going.
Thank you. Of course, I've been talking about Jordan Willis for a while now, and I've been wanting him to get more snaps, and I'd like to bring him back in and have him take on that role because I think Kerry Hyder Jr. could price himself out of the 49ers range if he has a good weekend, good finish to the end of the season. He might not even be a possibility. He might be getting starting money somewhere else.
The Jeff Wilson Jr. is a great name. He's a great story because to me, he's been flashing for years. He's had kind of like workman-like numbers in terms of yards per attempt. But when you watch him, he's impressive. He runs really hard. He scores touchdowns. And I think some of us last year were like, Isn't he better than Tevin Coleman? Like, can't he get a bigger role in the offense? Can't we consistently get him in the offense somehow? And the answer was no. And then when he got that one touch in the Super Bowl, he made a play. And then sort of like by default, after 1,000 injuries, he gets on the field and it's like, yes, exactly. This is what we thought he could do. So that's a great one. He needs to be back on the team and getting 15 carries a game or 12 with 3 catches. I agree with that. I would also say Ross Dwelly. And I've like turned him into a punchline, but he's good. He's now been a starting tight end the entire season. He's probably not a starting tight end in the NFL, but he's right on the borderline. And to have that guy as a 25, 26-year-old backup who can kind of do it all, bring him back. Don't let him go somewhere else. Ross Dwelly, seriously, bring him back. That's all I'm saying. And what stinks is what's going on with Nick Mullins. What do you do with that? Now he's got Tommy John surgery and he's a restricted free agent. Do you not?
Practice squad.
Oh,
no.
Stinks.
It depends it's going to depend on how he responds to that. Because if there's only a couple of guys that I know that are quarterbacks that have had that. And Jake Delhomme, when he had it, he got it in October, I think, the surgery. And he was back during, for the spring team activities. So he came back pretty quick and he played all the snaps in that next season. So it really depends on how his arm responds for that. Otherwise, it's going to be a long term. I
was talking to a coach right after the game. Former coach, after that game. And I was saying, it's too bad what happened to Mullins. He goes, I'm telling you, that's a serious injury. I've seen that. That's a serious injury. If I guarantee he at least strained ligaments, and I wouldn't be surprised if he needs Tommy John. I was like, are you serious? So I guess you could see it. In slow motion, you can't really tell, but go out and throw a ball against like a fence or something and see what happens. Don't do it, really. I don't want to mess up your UCL or anything like that. But I can imagine it would be very painful, and I feel really bad for you, Maverick. I mean, I hope you be okay. I hope you're okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Real quick though, to go back on Jeff Wilson, I think that's going to be a very interesting topic come the offseason because he's a restricted free agent. Do you really want to throw a second round tender on him, costing the team $3.5 million when they're already tight for cap? Or do you just give them an original round tender, which is basically nothing, and a team could go snipe them for $3 million and give the 49ers zero for it? So it should definitely be observed.
I mean, you'd love to give them a second round tender if you can afford it. I guess that's the answer. If you can, you do, but they may not be able to. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or you can just sign him to an extension now before he has the opportunity for a bigger role. Give him something in like the 2-3 year, $6-7 million, right?
What were you gonna say, Jack?
Oh, what I was going to say was the one thing on Wilson, and I think partly why we've seen him struggle on the field is that he has a tendency to miss the hole. And I think that's part of it. We talk a lot about Shanahan and why he likes certain quarterbacks. I think it's the same thing with the running backs because we saw an example of that on Sunday. We didn't get it yesterday in our film breakdown, but there was one that was a 3rd and short, and he just missed the hole, and they don't pick up the first down there.
Also, he's another fumble away from going right back to the dog.
Yeah,
so
true.
But I really do like that guy when he's not fumbling.